Hi, Linda Sessions here, and I'm going to go over the Excel Chapter 1 project in Cengage. In my LMS, I have already opened up the Cengage assignment. It's brought up this screen through Cengage. I've got my step 1, which is where I need to download my files. Step 2 is where I can save my work or upload my work after I've completed it. Then step 3 is to submit it for a grade. So the first thing you want to do is click on the instruction file and click on any starter files that you have in the download file section. Once you've done that, they're going to be up here. I'm using Chrome, so up here on the far right side of my ribbon, I've got my downloads button. And I can click on that and you can see here's my starter file and here's my instructions. I can close the Cengage window out. I don't have to leave it open. I can come back to that after I've finished completing my assignment. I'm going to open my instructions, and the instructions are in a Word file. Anytime you see a yellow ribbon across the top of a document, that just means they're trying to protect you from any viruses that might be from a file if it's from an unknown source. The ones from Cengage are okay. So you can click Enable Editing if you want to get rid of that file. And you can see here I have my instructions. Gives me my getting started information. It gives me my detailed project steps. And you want to do the project steps in order. 1, then 2, then 3. And you want to make sure you read through all of them, because sometimes, like in step 1, it gives you some background information, and then what you need to do is in the last line of that assignment information. Sometimes on a step it wants you to do more than one thing, so you want to make sure you read through the information. Another item that you have on your instruction file, if I scroll down to the last page, it's going to give me a figure of what my final project should look like. So I can compare, when I get it all finished, what my final document that I have looks like and compare it to this one. It is important to remember, though, that you can't just take what you see on this picture and then try to make your document match it. Because, for instance, here in this last contacted file or column in Excel, it has dates listed. Now, you could just enter these dates into your Excel spreadsheet, but you're going to get counted wrong because you need to use a formula to create this information. So don't just look and make your document match this one exactly, because if you don't follow the steps and how it wants you to get to that point, then you're going to be counted wrong. So I have my instructions. I'm going to go ahead and bring them over to half side of my page here. There we go. And now I'm going to come back and to my downloads file, and I'm going to bring up my starter document. And it's opening up on my other screen. Let me bring it over here. So here's my starter file, and you can see again I have this yellow line up here that's saying, hey, make sure that you know who this file came from. And it is safe, so I'm going to click Enable Editing. There's a couple of things that you want to look at first when you open up your starter files. You want to make sure that your name is over here under Author. If it does not have your name listed, then you need to close this file out and start over from your LMS and re-download it. If you still don't see your name, then you need to contact your instructor. So I have my file. It's got my name on it. And now I can, let me see, I want to get this half screen here. So I made my Excel file on one half of my screen and my instructions on the other half. What you can do to get that done is if you have one monitor, you can select up in the upper portion of your document and you can click on it and you can drag it over to the corner and it's going to bring it up to half screen, and then your other document will be up to half screen. The other thing you can do is up here in your minimize, maximize, and close buttons, click on your minimize and you can drag it and make it resize it. And you'll also notice when I go to my maximize button, I have different options where I can say this is how much of my monitor that I want this document to take up. And I've chosen to have mine take up half and half on my screens. So I'm going to come over here in my getting started. The first thing it wants me to do is to save my file by editing the file name and changing the 1 at the end of my file name to a 2. So I'm going to come up here to my File tab in Excel. When you click on this File tab, you're going to have your backstage view is going to come up, and one of your options is Save As. And so I'm going to choose to Save As. Now, what the Save As will do is let you tell your computer where you want to save your document. So you've got some quick places that you can save to, like my most recent are my OneDrives. But I almost always go down to the Browse, because that way I can look and see where I'm actually saving it to. It is important that you remember where you save your documents to. Now, I always have my students create a folder for their class. So they will go, what I suggest you do is go to your documents folder. And if you haven't already, you can come up here to where it says new folder, create a new folder, and name it for your class. And I'm going to double click on it to open up that folder. And then here in my file name, I'm going to come back here and it has my name in it, and then there's an _1. Now this 1 that's in the parentheses just means that this is a copy. So I've already downloaded this at least once to my computer. So this is a copy that I have, and that's fine. You can download it as many times as you want to. But when you go to save it, you want to get rid of all of this at the end and change that to a 2. Now the XLSX is the type. That means it's an Excel workbook, and it's automatically going to add that to your document. So you don't have to add that into your file name. It's going to automatically add it. Right here it tells me save as type Excel workbook, and it's going to put that on the end. So I'm going to hit save. So I have saved this to my PC in my documents folder, in my computer class folder, and now up here you can see I have it named Linda Sessions _2. Now I'm ready to go make changes to this document, and when I'm ready to turn it in, I will know exactly where I need to go to find it to turn it in. Or if I get called away and I need to go take care of some personal business, or the phone rings or something happens, I can actually close this document and save it, and I can come back and I can find it and continue working on it. A couple of things up on your Excel tab. My autosave. If you have that set to on, you don't have to worry about whether or not you've saved your project. I usually have mine turned on. That way I don't have to think about it. It's going to save it about I don't know what I have mine set at, but it automatically saves it every so often. So I don't have to try to remember to save it. The other thing is you should have file home. This diction is there if I want to dictate some information to Excel instead of typing it in with my computer. We're not going to be doing that with this particular assignment. So you might not see that on your machine. I have it on mine. I've got the insert, draw, page layout, formulas, data, review, view, automate, help, and then I also have Acrobat. I do have Adobe Acrobat on my computer here. These are all files or all tabs in Excel, and each tab is going to open up a new ribbon. This right across the top here in Excel is called a ribbon, and the ribbon contains all the options, and that's where you can go to find the different things to make changes in your document. So like here's my clipboards where I can copy and paste where I want to change my font. I would go to the font grouping. If you see this little box with an arrow in it, that means that there are more options that you can choose from in that box. Now, if you're doing this on a Mac computer, it's going to look a little bit different. So you might, just so you're aware of that difference. Now, up over here, I have a share button. If you click on this share if there's an edit button and you click on it and it says something about open in desktop app, then that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're using the desktop app for Excel when you're doing these assignments. The web version of Excel will not work. It does not have all the bells and whistles. So make sure that you are using the desktop app. And as a student, a college student, you can go to office.com and you can use your school email and download a free Microsoft Office download for the Microsoft Office suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. And that's free by going to office.com. All right, so we've got our file saved and we're ready to go to our project steps. So I'm going to come over here, select this side of my screen and move down. Now down here in my lower right portion of my document screen, I can actually go to my zoom bar and I can zoom in and make them a little bit larger so it's easier for me to see. So we can see here in our project steps, we are a consultant for Ferrante Dahl, and they want us to help them manipulate this worksheet to make it look a little better. So we want to go to the current accounts worksheet. Now in Excel, down at the bottom, you have tabs. You can have more tabs. If you hit on this plus button, you can add more tabs to your worksheet. You can see we already have a documentation tab, and then we have a current accounts tab. So we need to click or select the current accounts tab to open it to see our worksheet that we need to do some modifications to. The next thing it's asking us to do is to cut the worksheet subtitle from cell E2 and paste it in A2. Across the top in Excel, we have our column letters. Our rows are indicated by numbers. So when it gives us a cell address, E2, it wants us to go to column E, row 2. And when we take our mouse and we click on that, where that intersects, we are selecting the cell E2. We could also come up here to the name box and just type in E2. It's going to automatically take us there. Once we're here in E2, it wants us to cut that information, and then it wants us to paste it in A2. If you just delete the information here and then retype it in A2, it's going to count you wrong. it wants to show you how you can do this without having to retype anything. So we're going to cut. So right up here we have these scissors, and that's the cut. Or you can see in that little box that pops up, Control plus X is in parentheses. Control X is the keyboard shortcut for cut. Anytime you have information that's shown in parentheses, that's giving you a keyboard shortcut that you can use. And you can use keyboard shortcuts, or you can come up here to the ribbon. I'm going to click on the scissors. Now that I've clicked on that cut, you can see I have a running border around A2. I'm going to select A2, and now I'm ready to paste. Now the keyboard shortcut for paste is Control V. Control P is print. Control V is paste. Or you can come up here to the clipboard grouping and click on paste. And you can see it's removed it from E2 and it's placed it magically in A2. We didn't have to do anything else but cut and then paste. Now in number 2, step 2, it wants us to go to cell J2, and that's where we see the name Jordan LeMay, and it wants us to copy. Now copy is Control C, or we have this little icon right here, copy. Now when you hit copy, it puts it in the clipboard on your computer so that you can paste it someplace else, but it's going to keep it in the same location. So it's not going to remove it from J2. So I'm going to copy J2, and I want to go down to J11, and now I want to paste. And you can see I still have this running box up here because I've done something with it. If I want to remove that outline, I can hit the escape key on my keyboard and it's going to go away. But you can see I have Jordan LeMay in J2 as well as J11. So that's the difference between cut and copy. The second half of step 2 is to clear the contents of J2. So I'm going to select J2, and up here in the editing grouping, I have the clear option. I'm going to, and if you're not sure where that's at, you can come up here and click in the search and type in clear contents, and it's going to give you a shortcut and more information on where you can find what it is that you're looking for. I'm going to click on the clear. I'm going to click on this little arrow next to it, and you can see I have some different options. I can clear everything, which is going to clear any borders, any formatting, any text, anything that's in that cell. If I just want to clear the formats, I can click the clear formats. If I want to just clear the contents, but I want to leave any of the formatting there, I can just right here clear contents. Or if I just want to clear a hyperlink, I don't want the hyperlink to be showing, I would select this. We are asked just to clear the contents, and then I'm just going to click off of it, and you can see now J2 is empty. In cell C3, we want to enter company as the column heading. When you're working with Excel, you want to have headings and you want to have information in the headings. And you can see we don't have anything in C3. It's empty. And we want to add company. You always want to make sure you spell things correctly, capitalize, enter it exactly as you're asked to in the instructions. So I'm going to type in company, and then you can either hit enter to enter that information into that cell, or you can click on this check mark up here, and that also enters the information. The difference between clicking on this check mark or hitting your enter key is where your active cell goes. Now your active cell is the cell that is selected, in this case C3. If I was to hit the enter key, it's going to move my active cell down. If when I enter information and I click on the checkbox, it leaves my active cell the same. You can also move your active cell around by clicking and selecting the arrow keys on your keyboard, or just by moving your mouse around on your Excel worksheet, or up here in the name box, you can just type in the cell address where you're wanting to go. Step 4 wants us to change the font size from A3 to J3 to 12-point font. Now the font is my text, and the point size is how big it is. And we want to change the range A3 to J3 to 12 points. There's a couple of different ways you can select the range. Now if I put my mouse up in A3, you can see my mouse. When I move my mouse over it, it looks like that white cross sign, a big fat white plus sign. And if I click with my left mouse key while it looks like that, and I drag down, I can select the range down to J3. I can also select a range by coming up here to the name box and typing in A3 semicolon J3. Now I don't have to capitalize it or anything, but when I enter that phrase written like that and hit enter, it's going to select that range. Whatever I do next is going to take place in that range that I've selected. I want to change it to 12 point, so up here in the font grouping, I'm going to change this 11 to a 12. Then I'm going to bold my contents, so it's right here, B or Control B if you want to use the keyboard shortcut. And finally, in step 4, I want to use the auto fit to resize columns G and J to their best fit. So right now, here in column G, I'm going to just make G4 my active cell. You can see I have a lot of white space right here, so my column is really wide. So if I take my mouse and if I move it up over the G, you can see I have a downward arrow. If I select my left key now, it's going to select the entire column. If I move my mouse over to where it's on that border between G and H, and I double click, I'm automatically resizing the G column to the best fit. What it's done is it's made the column as wide as the widest entry in that column, and it's made it auto fit. And you can also come up here to the editing, or the cells grouping, the cells grouping, format, and auto fit. So if I come over here to J, because it wants me to do the same thing with J, I could come up here to the cells, format, auto fit column width, and it's just going to do it just for that cell. I need to select the whole column if I'm going to use this grouping. See how it changed? Okay, so you can either use your mouse to come up in between the columns, or you can select the entire column and then come to the cells and do the formatting. Either way is correct. It's one of the things that's really cool about Microsoft Office programs. There's usually more than one way to do everything, and a lot of times it's the way that you've learned it is the way that's the easiest for you. Again, if you're on a Mac computer, some of these steps are going to be a little different. So you might have to use the help button. I believe that's available on your Excel file, or you might need to do a Google search. How do I do this on a Mac computer? Because it's a little different. Okay, on number 5, we want to change the text number format from A4 to A9. Or you want to apply the text number format, I apologize, to the range A4 to A9. So again, I'm just going to come up here to my name box and I'm going to type in A4 semicolon A9 and enter. And it's going to select that range for me. And right now, it's entered in as a number. When you enter in a number in Excel, it automatically lines it up with the right-hand side of the cell. Usually, when you have a number, it's because you want to do some type of a mathematical equation with it. Now, this is an ID. You don't usually do that with numbers. And so we want to change that to a text. We want it to line up with the right-hand side of our cell as a text, because we know we're not going to be doing any mathematical equations with this. So up here in the number grouping, right here it says general, which is the default. It's how it enters the information in. If you enter text, letters, or letters A through Z, it's going to automatically line it up with the right-hand side of the cell. If you enter numbers, it assumes you want a number and it's going to line it up with the right-hand. Text lines up with the left-hand side of the cell. Numbers line up with the right-hand side of the cell. So I'm going to click on this general and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change it to text. And you watch what happens. It's moved it over to where it's aligned left. And I apologize, I get left and right mixed up all the time. I know it's sad. I should be able to right away do that, but I do have difficulties with that. So I apologize if that confused you. But let's look at this. The ID number, we changed it to text, so everything is now left aligned. If you look over here at our dates, you can see they are right aligned. So they're aligned with the right-hand side of the cell. So that's the one way you can tell how is it formatted. Is it formatted as a number of some sort, or is it a text of some sort? Is by looking at where is it lined up in your cell. Now up here in the alignment grouping, you can also change the alignment even regardless of what type of number format it has. You can change the alignment right here as well. Okay, in step 6, we want to change E5 and have it say networking conference. You can see here in E5, it's missing part of the words, networking conference. Excel likes to help us whenever it can. So if I just start typing in networking, I hit the N and you can see it automatically filled in networking conference. And Excel says, hey, if this is what you want, all you have to do is click on that checkbox or hit the enter key and it's going to fill it in for you automatically. You don't have to type the whole thing. So it does that to save you time and just to help you out if that's what you want. Now, if networking conference wasn't what you wanted, as soon you just finish typing in what you want and it would change it. Now, this next thing is a really cool trick that you can do with Excel with dates. So we've got our last contacted date here in column G. In column H, we want to enter up a follow-up date. And we have a policy to contact our clients every 2 weeks. So we want to enter in the dates here. Now, we could just add 14 days to 218, but exactly what date is that? I would have to try to add up 14 to 18 to figure out what the date is and then think, okay, how many days are in the month and go from there, right? Well, I don't have to. Excel will do it with a formula. Excel will do mathematical equations. It will automatically add the 14 days to our last contacted date. Now, when we want to make a cell have a formula and we want Excel to do a calculation, the first thing we have to do in our cell is hit the equal key. When we hit the equal key, we're telling Excel, we want you to do a formula of some sort. So we want it to equal, and we want it to take this date in G4. So I'm just going to click in G4 and select that date. And then I'm going to add. So I want to hit the plus, and I want it to add 14 days. So it's just going to be equals G4 plus 14. I have that formula in there. You can see up here in the formula bar, that's what it reads. Down here, that's what it reads. If I hit this check mark, this is where the magic happens. It automatically gives me the date. So 14 days from 2/18 is March 3rd. In my cell, it gives me the results of the formula. In the formula bar, it gives me the formula. I didn't have to pull out a calendar. I just had to say, hey, add 14 days to this date. I also now need to copy this formula down in the rest of this page. Now for this particular worksheet, it'd be real easy just to enter in the formula, right, down the rest of them. But in Excel, we can actually copy the formula. So remember when we selected the range, we had our mouse look like that big white plus sign. If I want to copy the contents or the formula from a cell, I'm going to come down here and see how my mouse changes if I go down to the lower right hand corner into that skinny plus sign. See that little green box that's down there? Put my mouse right over it and my cursor changes to a crosshairs. And I can now click with my left mouse key and I can drag down to H9, let go, and it's going to automatically copy the formula down for me. And that can come in real handy, especially if you're working with a big worksheet. Now if I select H5, you notice my formula changed. It changed to G5 plus 14. When I copied my formula down, it kept everything in relation to my cell, my row, and my column. So when I copied it down to row 6, it kept my column the same because I was still in column G, but now I'm in row 6. So my relationship changed when I copied it down. Excel says, okay, we're in row 6, so you must want your formula changed to G6 as well. Now, if we were copying things over, the column number would change. I think that's a really cool little trick there. Now in J6, we need to enter some information. You can see it's blank. When we enter numbers, 3, 4, 6, 7, 5, when I hit the enter key or the check mark, it's automatically going to put it over to the right hand side, and it's going to put it in with it's got a custom formatting right here. It's a number format, but it's keeping everything the same. In J10, it doesn't say we want a total. Usually it'll say total somewhere, but we want to total our contract amounts. We want to know how much our contracts add up to. Now it's real easy to grab your phone and do the multiplication, but you don't need to. Excel will do it for you. Excel's just a huge calculator. Up here in the editing, we can choose the auto sum, which is the E. If we click on this little arrow right here, here are the top 5 functions that are used in Excel. Sum, the average, it'll count how many numbers we're looking at. It'll also do the maximum and the minimum. We just want to do auto sum, and we can see this little box that comes up around. Now you do want to check and make sure that the range it's selecting is the range that you want it to add up, because it's just saying, hey, is this what you want? Sometimes it's wrong, so you want to check and make sure that that's correct, and we do want to add up J4 through J9, and then I can hit either enter key or the check mark, and I can know that my contracts add up to $310,140. Another thing that you can do is kind of cool. I can just select this range, and I've got this range highlighted, and then down here in my taskbar, I can see the average right away. I can see what the count is, how many numbers I have selected, and I can see the sum right here. So maybe I just need to look at the sum real quickly for an email or something I'm doing. I don't need to actually have it in my document, but I want to know what the formulas equal, my contracts equal, and I can just select that range and it's going to show me that information in the taskbar. So maybe I just want to know what my contracts equal that I'm going to be following up on March 3rd, and I can see right down here, just those three equal up to 148,000. So that's kind of just a cool, neat little trick. We also want to change our orientation of our page to landscape. Now, we have two orientations that we can do with our pages. We can make them landscape, which is a long way, or we can make them portrait. So right up here in our page layout, we've got our margins. This is where we can change and adjust our margins. And right here is our orientation, and we're going to change that to landscape. And then over here on our instructions, we also want to make sure our print scaling is to fit the sheet on one page. So right here, if I click on this little, in my page setup grouping, I select my page setup box. Right over here in my scaling, I can fit one page wide, one page tall. And you can see right here, I can also change my orientation to landscape. It's very important when you're printing an Excel spreadsheet that you don't accidentally have like one column on the second page. Because a lot of times you don't realize you've done that and you've had it print out that you've given to your boss, but you've left off the total column because it's on page 2. And you only do that a couple of times before you really start checking. And this is one way where you can make sure everything's on the same page, one page to one page. And then I'm going to say OK. And I can check and make sure here that my information looks correct. The other thing I can do if I want to make sure it all is fitting on one page, I can come up to my File tab and I can select Print. And it's going to give me a thumbnail of what my print's going to look like. And down here it lets me know I'm printing one page to one page. So I can check it there. Right here you'll notice in the printing area, you can also change the orientation here, and you can also change the scaling. So you can do all that from the print option as well as the page layout option. So again, there's more than one way you can do everything. So I have everything completed. I've saved it. So now I'm going to close this file. I'm going to close my instructions. I'm going to go back to my SAM, or if you've closed it, you just need to open it up again. I'm going to come here to where it says Save Work to SAM. I'm going to upload my file. Remember, I saved it in my Documents folder, and I have that in Computer Class. There's my Excel. I'm going to click Open, and as long as your file name is correct, it's going to be in here. Now, if your file name does not match this, it's not going to select it. So if you forgot to change that 1 to a 2 and you just saved it, then you need to open up that Excel worksheet, do a Save As, and change the name to where it has that 2. Now I'm ready to submit for a grade. So I'm going to click Submit, and Cengage is going to automatically grade it for me. So I don't have to wait for my instructor to look at it. I'm going to be able to find out right away, did I do what I needed to do? So I'm going to click on this graded summary report, and it's going to download it right here. And I can look at my summary report, and you can see I did do everything correctly. I got 50 out of 50. But if I didn't get it all correct, it would have a red check mark by where I was counted off. and it would let me know how many points I was counted off on. If I did something incorrect, I could go back in and I could open up my original document and I can make changes and then resubmit it. The higher grade is what I'm going to accept. So go in and make sure that you are looking at your score and you can resubmit it for a higher grade. I'm going to close this. The other thing that you have here is a study guide, and this is kind of a neat option as well. If you got something wrong on your assignment and you're just not really sure what you did incorrectly or how you were supposed to be doing it, here in the study guide, it shows you a training. So maybe you didn't do the clear cell contents correctly. You could click here and it's going to take you to a training where it's going to go over exactly how to do that skill in Excel. So you've got a couple of different ways that you can look and find out and correct what you did. So that is Excel Chapter 1, creating a file and submitting it. I'm Linda Sessions, and if you have any questions, you can ask me. And if you like this video, please hit the like, follow me for more videos, and have a great day. And I hope wherever you are, the sun is shining.